Hey everybody, this is the Trout, aka Rick Troutman. Welcome to the Trout Show podcast. You know what I do? I interview musicians that are located all over this wonderful planet of ours that are very talented. Some of them you'll know, and some of them you may not know, but one thing I will tell you, you'll know about their life in the music industry. So sit back, grab a cup of coffee or your favorite adult beverage, and listen to our next episode coming up right now. Hey everybody, it's a Trout and welcome to another episode of the Trout Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us. So when you think of Oslo, Norway, do you think of country music? Probably not. But this episode, I talked to a family, the Tofte family, are musicians in Oslo that are country music enthusiasts that continue to do music in their country music vein and record. But more importantly, they're coming over to America to compete in the Texas Sounds International Country Music Awards in October 2023. It's an interesting story about their family, their music, and how they want to come over here and let people hear their music in America. So sit back and grab your favorite adult beverage and enjoy this episode, Country Music, all the way from Norway, on this episode of The Trout Show. Coming up next. When did you get a call from Preston, or a contact from Preston said, hey, I got this thing in Marshall, Texas. I think you'd be interested in coming. Was it earlier this year or was it last year? When did that all happen?
Well, it was sort of the other way around, actually. Because somebody I know that have a country band, they play a lot. They play straight country, like very danceable songs, and they released an album, and they posted on Facebook that they got this invitation. And then I'm a bit competitive, so I thought if they were invited to play there, man, I'm going to send them something. And Preston answered politely and says, thank you for contacting us, but unfortunately our program is full this year, but I'll have you in mind for the future. And then I believe it was like 2 or 3 months later, he contacted me and said, I think your music will do great here because it's a bit different. Mm-hmm. And then it clicked. So I'm not trying to boast or anything about what we do is so fantastic, but it's a little bit different than traditional country. And we are also, normally she's not here now, but our oldest daughter is also part of the band. So we
I did see that. I did see that.
The harmony vocals is maybe one of the best things about us.
So you do 3-part harmony then?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. When you've been playing as long, just like you guys, when you've been singing together for so long, it's just second nature to you.
Yeah.
You don't look for what part you're going to sing. You already know what part you're going to sing when you start singing it, because you just, boom, you've already been doing it.
Almost. Our daughter, she has like some skills that my wife and I don't have, because we have been harmonizing, singing together for many years, but she's been with us for the last 6 years. And she tells us how to sing the correct tones. So the sound will be perfect. Because if I try to do, she has something that we don't have. So she tells us, if now you're singing on my voice, you have to sing blah 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 blah. And so she's the teacher.
Well, I used to play with a band that one of my singers had perfect pitch. Mm-hmm. And she could, when I wrote a song, I said, I don't know how to write the notes down. She goes, that's all right, just sing it to me, I'll write them down. She could hear
Yeah.
the note, and I go,
Yeah.
that's not fair. You shouldn't be able to do that. So I admire people like that, but I can understand because you can be good, but then you can be really good or really great at a certain level. And when you got
Yeah.
people like that can hear it,
Mm.
and they go, you're down, you need to, and when
Mm.
I watch these shows, my wife will turn to me and she'll say, were they off? And, and I'll say, well, just a little, but you could hear it. It's one of those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
So you get, am I right, 20 minutes to perform? Is that what it is? I think it's 20 minutes.
Yeah. That's it's not too much, but I think it will be super cool.
I think you've been here to Texas before. Marshall's a small town. I think it's an interesting situation. And the only
Mm.
reason I found out about Olaf was somebody had interviewed last year from Toronto,
Mm.
that's a pop and country singer. She put
Mm.
on Instagram one day that she was coming to Marshall, Texas. And I'm thinking, why, why are you coming to Marshall, Texas? And she
Yeah.
said this Texas Sounds International, I want to say guitar, International Country Music Award thing. And I'm going, what?
Mm.
So I
Mm.
looked into it, and then I started seeing all these artists, and none of them were for the United States.
Mm.
And Marshall's about 2.5 hours east of me. It's about 150 miles, something like that.
Mm.
And it's a town of 25,000, which even sounded funnier because I'm thinking all these people come in. And that's when I reached out to Preston. And I said, you got to tell me about this. So he
Mm.
was kind enough to interview and visit with me. And he said, are you coming? And I said, I was thinking about coming. He goes, do you want to be a judge? And I went, I've been a judge before. And I went, I think I just want to hang out.
Mm.
So, and because, when I get to meet people like you, a lot of the people I don't get to see them in person.
No.
If they come through Dallas, um, and if they're come through Dallas, I always get to go see them, if they're coming through. But a lot of times the people I don't, they may go to Europe for 6 months and they may
Mm.
never make it to Dallas, or they'll go 100 miles away. And it's like, okay. And everybody I interview, if they come through, I always tell them the same thing. If you're here, you got to give me free tickets. Like, okay. Okay. So it's like,
Mm.
you know, so,
Yeah.
it's an interesting situation. There's 19 performers, I think, is what it is.
Yeah.
And the town you live in, the city, how many people live in the city you live in Norway?
Well, it's not a city actually.
So you live
It's
you live in a country?
yeah, almost. It's like half an hour drive from Oslo Airport,
Okay.
uh, east direction, and it's like 45 minutes driving south to the city of Oslo. And it's a small lake here and woods, a little bit like Truckee in California. I got a friend living there, so I've been there too, and I just have to check. So nothing happened with the guitar.
Yeah.
So it's we lived in a suburb to Oslo earlier, but we chose to move to the countryside or the woods because I was one of the guys who always drank too much, and I decided I had to quit. And then we looked about another place to live, and we found that this here is super. So we go bicycling and hiking and cross-country skiing in the winter.
So
And it's like,
what do you
yeah.
guys what do you do for a living?
I've been working for major transport companies like TNT and DHL. I was the head of customs clearance
Mm.
for a long time, but 7 years ago I lost that job, and I've been doing something else. And after 3 years, I lost that job, and I got something else, also different. I lost that job, and I got a new one now, which also is different. And I have this funny idea that the Lord is sending me to new places, so I shall learn things. But I'm not quite sure why I'm gonna learn them. But I also became a Christian like a year and a half after I stopped drinking.
Uh,
After this like supernatural thing happened outside a house of a friend of mine. I'm not going into details about that, but
oh, no, I understand. Yeah,
that changed me a lot.
sure.
And
Well, in the
so,
country music area is more prone to be religious or spiritual. Not that there's
mm,
not another area, but that's America.
mm,
And a lot of them, in fact, the ladies I talked about mentioned they grew up and their father was a preacher. So a
mm,
lot of the people I interview, especially from the South, grew up performing in churches,
mm,
and that's where they kind of got their footing.
mm,
And I think the thing about music is, of course, it's a universal language,
mm,
but I, there's something about it that, and you got to be in it to understand it, that draws you to it and makes you say you got to keep doing it. I
mm.
mean, it's just, I started playing guitar when I was 12. I wrote my
Yeah.
first song when I was 12 or 13.
Mm,
I didn't, and people are like, how did you know? And I go, I just started, you know. And I do think there's a spirituality to what we do because, like you said, you write songs too. Well, where does that come from? You
yeah.
know, you just
Mm,
sit down and all of a sudden you get an idea. I mean, times when I sit there and go, okay, I'm working, finishing up a new album now. And okay,
oh,
I have that dry spell, and you're like, I can't think of any force. And all of a sudden something comes to you and you go, where did that come from? I don't know.
yeah.
So it has to come from someplace. And I think you are given the gift of being able to perform. And if you're given that gift, I really believe it's about increasing your ability to perform. A lot of people can perform, but they're not that good. But I think if you're given something like that, you have to improve. You have to,
Mm,
and that's another thing about music. And we had this conversation with that blues singer the other day. You never stop
mm.
learning when it comes to music.
No, that's
It's
true.
it's always learning and learning. The
Mm,
common thread is everybody I talk to is driven by music. It's what they do. Most of them, all 99% of them do it for a living.
mm,
Some of them don't. Like one of the young ones I interviewed that are going to be doing it because they're that good.
mm, mm,
But it drives you to do it, and people that aren't touched. That's what I think. We're mentally touched.
mm,
To do music, just like you. I mean, you think about I told people about interviewing you and some other people. I said, think about the way people speak in Norway, and then think about them singing like they're out of Nashville. I said
mm.
that doesn't
Yeah.
comprehend,
No,
you know.
that's true. Mm,
But I think that's what's so cool about it is,
yeah.
and like you said, you're a little unique, which makes you even different. And so when it comes to music, what if you could wave a wand, would you guys, and I'm going to say financially, would you do that all the time? Would you give it, I mean, if you had the financial wherewithal to do it, would you and
Yeah.
your wife go, okay, enough of this. We're going to be musicians full time?
Yeah. If the economy was right for it, we would have just been playing.
Yeah.
So what we do for a living is just for paying the bills.
Yep.
Yeah.
You do the music for the fun part and you love to
Yeah.
be able to do that all the time. So and if you love to perform, there's nothing better than performing your own music in front of people, is there?
No. And I've been fortunate to do that from at the end of the 90s, actually. So we have had a lot of gigs over the years, but when the corona came and afterwards, it's been much harder to get a gig because we now there are fewer places where you can play,
Oh, because they all
and
closed up during the COVID thing.
Yeah, and then you have to battle with the famous bands and artists, and then you often lose, and then you have to to battle with those who play for the booze,
Mm.
and then you often lose as well. But this year we have I have managed to book 9 concerts, where Marshall is one of them.
Over here we have the capability. I don't know whether you do over there. We have a lot of places we could play corporate gigs where big businesses hire people all the time to come in and
Yeah.
play. But it's not the
Mhm.
kind of, it wouldn't be the music I wanted to play. If I
No.
want to do originals, I want to do originals. But, if I play a corporate gig, they want to go, can you do 70s through the, 70s, 80s, 90s music, dance
Mhm.
music? And it's like, oh, I
Mm.
can, but, so you're,
Yeah.
you're battling
Yeah,
that.
it's yeah, it's the same here actually.
Yeah. So, I mean, and there are great bands that do that. And over
Mm.
here, and I'm sure it's the same over there, everything now is all about tribute bands. Nobody,
Mm.
there's not really a cover band per se anymore. It's all about, I'm going to be an Eagles band. I'm going to be
Mm.
this band. I'm going to be that, Stevie Ray. I'm going to be this kind. We're going to do Blake Shelton stuff. We're going to, and that's all they
Yeah.
play.
Yeah.
And that's what people want to go hear.
Mm.
Um, and so you see all these places that have music, they'll have all these bands that are all tribute. I think what you're doing is coming over here to get exposed. And one of the things that Preston told me, and that was one of the reasons I asked him, I said, why do people come to Marshall, Texas?
Mm.
And I mean, if you look at the list of people, there's Spain, there's Brazil, I spoke to a lady that's from Malaysia.
Mm.
You guys are coming in. I mean, and he said to me, and yours is probably different, but he said, some of these people come to Texas. Well, first off, they've never been there. But when they go back to their countries, like one group came from Africa, and he said they come over here. If they get an award from Texas, it's like when they go back, it's like, oh my, it's like getting an
Mm.
Academy Award. Are you concerned about your financial health? Then why don't you count on an expert that has years of experience of helping people just like you reach their financial possibilities? That's David Smith with Edward Jones at 469-372-1587. David has years of experience of helping people just like you. So reach out to him today, 469-372-1587. David Smith with Edward Jones. And I can
Mm.
understand that, and it doesn't hurt your resume. In your situation,
Yeah.
it's like if you come over here and had the opportunity to win, you can take it back and go, hey, I
Mm.
mean, there's not
Yeah,
any place.
that,
I don't think too many people don't know where Texas is. They may they may not know where it is, but they've heard of it. So
yeah, for sure. No, and I'm going to tell you something regarding this. It's like a sort of competition, but I do want to go there to present my songs and my wife, and I do not think 1 second about any prize at all. But if we should be so lucky to get a prize, that would be a big deal to bring it back home. But I go there mostly to perform for those people who come and let my wife have a great audience on a big stage.
well, that's what you're going to get.
Yeah,
And then I don't know, and I haven't talked to Preston. I'm going to give him a call this week. I assume that people from Nashville or some other people are going to be there listening. I would assume.
yeah,
I never ask him that. But,
yeah.
I have friends in the business and associates that,
Mm,
and I've done this before. If I think somebody's really worthy and they don't have a record label or any management, then I'm going to probably at least introduce them and say,
mm.
here's a band that you should listen to. And because they know me, they'll go, okay, I'll listen to it. So all the songs I assume you're going to be doing are all original, or are you doing any
Yes.
covers? So they're all original. And
Yeah.
and
We
no, go ahead.
we just for the fun of it, we have picked up a Tanya Tucker song, Texas When I Die. We played it on a concert in June, and we're going to play it, the two concerts we're going to have in September and one in October, 3 days before we fly over. And we played a bit more like the Rolling Stones, maybe.
Who just came out with a brand new album. We're getting ready to release a new album. They can't be stopped. They'll never stop.
No. Now, just for the fun of it, try to express it musically a bit different than how Tanya Tucker does it. But she has been my wife listened a lot to Tanya when she was younger. And my wife do have that kind of voice that when she puts some energy to it, it cranks. So if you know what I'm trying to explain.
Yeah, I know. I understand.
Yeah,
I understand.
I have always wanted to have a voice like that, but I don't. I'm more like Glenn Frey, actually.
Oh, the Glenn Frey. Yeah, but that's okay. What you sing, you need that harmony part. You know, you need that person that blends that in. And a lot of times that person's not the outstanding singer. In other words, they're not. It's probably your wife is the one that's probably the best. I'm sure your daughter's pretty good singer too, is what I'm guessing.
Yeah, she is the one that mostly sings. I'm not quite sure if I say this correctly in English, but she sings. Is it called the first and second harmony voice? Yeah, yep. She sings the second harmony voice.
Yeah,
because she's the expert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she's probably, somebody has to sing the melody. Somebody has to do that, and then everybody sings around them. I think what you're doing is really kind of cool because the fact you got your family involved, you're going to be, and I like your attitude. I'm not coming over there to win. I'm just coming over to play. And usually when your attitude is like that, you're better off because then it's like if I don't win anything, I don't win anything. But I'm still performing in front of people, and I get an exposure. Yeah. Let me ask you this about you've been in the studio, you've recorded some things in the studio, haven't you? Or do you have your own studio? Or tell me about that part.
No, I have like this small box that I record something like sketches for the songs, but we have recorded 3 albums and different places with great musicians. I bought myself a real present when I was 60. That was recording 3 songs in Nashville. In 2007.
I did remember seeing that you went to Nashville. Yeah.
Yeah. And these guys are, like the best musicians. So that was a thrill to be there. And that was also like a coincidence because we stayed in Nashville in 2015 with our daughters. And my wife and I had been listening to some music downtown Nashville and came back to our hotel. And on the way to the elevator, there was one guy and 2 ladies sitting in some couches. And my Toril, which is my wife, she's very social, outgoing person. She's very like smiling and she said hello to them and they answered her, and then she just went over to them and started talking. Yeah. So I thought, I would rather join her, not take the elevator myself. So we sat there for like an hour and spoke to these 3 and we didn't speak about music, anything about that. We had been downtown and listening to some bands. And my wife said to this guy, "Are you on Facebook?" And one of the ladies said, "Yes, I am." And this guy, whose name is Eric, he's originally from Los Angeles, Eric Halbig. And Well, she plotted in their names on her phone, and the next day, she said, "I want to send him a Facebook request." And when we saw the Facebook profile to Eric, he was standing with the guitar in a huge arena. So it turned out he is pretty good guitar player and producer in Nashville. So 2 years after, we contacted him and asked if he could produce the songs for us, and he rang some of his friends. And so we made this recording there, and it was just super cool. But it was one thing I was disappointed about, because I was used to that was the Norwegian way of recording things. So when we had 3 songs, I was thinking, yeah, we'll be in the studio for a whole day. That's cool. But we left after 4 hours, and I thought, man, this is strange. They are so good musicians, but it was over too soon.
It all depends on, if you're looking for quality. Now, I guarantee, granted, when you get in with a bunch of really good musicians, they don't fart around. They know what to do.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that does take a lot of the load off of people, because it's like, okay. But if you're making something that you want to be perfect, or as close as perfect as you can, you could be in there a long time. But the problem that most people have, unless they got a record, they can't afford it.
No.
Because it's not cheap to sit in a studio, because you're paying for the studio time, you're paying for the engineer, you're paying for the producer. The producer's not doing it for free.
No.
They're doing it. And so a lot of the young bands that I've interviewed over the course of the last couple of years, they'll go in and try to plow through a bunch of songs in the studio real quick. Oh, we're going to put 4 down today. And I always go, why don't you put one good one down? And they go, well, you need 4. And it's not like they wouldn't be good. It's just that there's some things to do that take longer to do. And the other part about Olav is this, and you already know this because you've already recorded, is you're never satisfied with your music. You like it, but you're always constantly, oh, I should have done this. I should have done that.
That happens a couple of times, yeah.
Yeah. And I told my friend that. I said, now I'm going to tell you this now, because it's been a year ago. And he talked to me the other day, and he said, I was out doing some yard work, and I put our song on, and he goes, I did exactly what you said I'd be doing. I said, what's that? I could have done this drum part different. I could have done I said, yeah, you'll do that the rest of your life. I said, that's and because there's no perfection in it. But there is something about going to the studio around great musicians, if you get that opportunity in your life, which you had, and I think you'll have it again, and you never know. And I don't think the other thing is, there's no limit to how long you perform until you're dead, because because you look at the people that are still around. And I told somebody the other day, I'm thinking about doing a series of musicians interviews with people that are over 70 that are still performing. I mean, Mick and Keith and Ron are 80 years old.
Yeah.
Ringo's going to be here next month. He's 82. Is Joe Walsh with him? No, it's the guy from Toto is with him this time. But I guess Joe's on tour with Eagles. And I thought it'd be interesting to talk to him, because it's like they just keep going. Just like you said, I'm going to celebrate my birthday. I'm going to go do this. Because when you're gone, at least people can listen to it. They may not like it when you're alive. It's kind of like being a famous paper. I didn't know he was that good. I should have told him that when he's alive. Yeah, it's great now, but well, anyway, I want to tell you, thank you very much. I don't want to keep you anymore.
And by accident, I met first through a guy that had a local radio station here in Norway. He he went over to America and interviewed a lot of celebrities, and he played their music and interviews on his radio, and we ended up there as well. So through him, I met Scotty Moore in 2001. So I was driving him and his band, and like for a week here in Norway, and I met him after that as well, and I was at his place when he lived in 2008 in Blueberry Hill Road outside Nashville. And he was very fond of my wife's voice. And I asked him, am I allowed to use that on our resume? And I said, you're welcome. And then I said, he was Elvis's first guitar player, and he obviously know a good singer.
Well, I'm going to hang up, and you have a wonderful evening, and we'll keep in touch, all right?
Thanks a lot. I enjoyed it.
I did too. Have a good one. See you later. Bye-bye.